Good morning. Welcome into Five Clubs. Great to have you with us on this Monday morning. You can see we are on the road, South Charlotte, specifically at Longview Club. Great to be here. The details on why we are here and why we are doing a very robust 2-hour show, post-tour championship coming up. But this program, wherever we are, is always brought to you by Century Insurance. Right by you. If you have business insurance needs, they have the answers for you. They invest in great things in the game of golf, from the USGA to the First Tee. Golf Pride, when it comes to grips and having options and having the best materials, and I'm talking through the bag, that's why they're trusted by more players at every level around the world. Peter Millar from this Pine Performance hoodie, you can have it. The fall line is available for you at petermillar.com. Everything you need, whatever your needs are when it comes to apparel, they have got it. And of course, the cradle of American golf, Pinehurst, it's getting that time of the year where it's going to be maybe not even touching 80 in the Carolinas later this week. Why would you not be booking a trip to go to the cradle of American golf? It is the Pinehurst Resort. All right, we got a lot we're going to get to. We're at the Mackenzie Hughes Pro-AM at Longview Club. Now, Mackenzie Hughes, obviously a longtime member of the PGA Tour. He's a resident here in Charlotte, North Carolina. He is a member here. He is jumping off with his family foundation, doing something that they hope will, going forward, impact a lot of families, not only in this area, but beyond the Charlotte, North Carolina area. And I'm looking forward to having not only Mackenzie on this program this morning here in just a little bit, but also some of his friends who are supporting him here today, whether it be fellow tour players. We got some guys who are part of our team that we might have on here over the next couple hours, and I'm talking about Brendan Young, Johnson Wagner. Hopefully they will be joining me. Athletes from other sports who live in Charlotte, of which there are many, are likely to be with me as well. So we appreciate Mackenzie saying, you know what, we'd love for you to do the show from my event. They're going to have a great day here. They're going to raise a lot of money. Got to have great corporate support. Huntington National Bank and what they are doing to support Mackenzie and his wife and their family foundation. So that is the backdrop of why we are here. And let me just give you, just before we talk about Tommy Fleetwood in the Tour Championship, there was one professional footnote right here at Longview. They had the Chiquita Classic on the Korn Ferry Tour right here in 2012. And the Chiquita Classic moved around. They were up at River Run on the north side of Charlotte a couple times as well. But the one-off here at Longview was a 3-man playoff. 2 of the guys in that playoff, one is on the team, another one is likely to be named on Wednesday. 2 of the 3 in that 3-man playoff are likely to be on that United States Ryder Cup team. Russell Henley, Patrick Cantlay, and Morgan Hoffman, just over my shoulder here on the 18th green. And Russell Henley had a 1-shot lead coming to the 18th hole here at Longview, dumped it in the fairway bunker, hit his second into the water, made a 20-footer for bogey just to get into the playoff, and then won on the first playoff hole over Patrick Cantlay and Morgan Hoffman. And here we sit 13 years later, and Russell Henley has become obviously one of the better players in the world. Patrick Cantlay has been one of the best players in the world. Morgan Hoffman's road in life and golf has taken a different route, and he's doing amazing work. Just goes to show you, everybody's path is different. And that gets us to Tommy Fleetwood, because it's not like Tommy Fleetwood has had some hard scrabbled road and then he's never accomplished anything in golf. He's accomplished a lot. The guy's been the man of the match in a Ryder Cup. He's won 7 times on the DP World Tour in big events as well. But he had yet to win on the PGA Tour, and of all places, he jumps up after being so close so often, so recently, to win the Tour Championship, and he wins by 3 shots over Patrick Cantlay, Russell Henley. Patrick Cantlay had a putt on the last that would have given him second solo, which would have separated him from everybody else by about just under $700,000. Corey Connors shoots 62 yesterday. Corey's going to be here today supporting Mackenzie. Scotty Scheffler, again, does what he does, got within 2 standing on the 15th tee. Cameron Young, another excellent performance, putting all of the pressure on Keegan Bradley to say, I don't know. Speaking of Keegan, he also finishes in the top 10 and a tie for 7th alongside Sam Burns, Justin Thomas. and Chris Gotterup. Now, Chris Gotterup is likely going to be on the outside looking in when it comes to the Ryder Cup, and we will get to the Ryder Cup, but we start with Tommy Fleetwood. 164 starts on the PGA Tour for Tommy Fleetwood, and in that 164 start, after 12 top threes, after countless close calls, and this was the third time just this season alone in which he has carried a 54-hole lead into the final round, and he's done it recently. You go back to the Travelers and you look at the lead that he had late, and he's succumbed, I think, a little bit to the pressure, particularly on that final hole, playing alongside Keegan Bradley. He misses the putt, Keegan makes, he wins, and you're going, my gosh, that's heartbreaking. And then a lot of the focus went to Keegan Bradley, and rightfully so, having won that event for the second time. What it meant, in all likelihood, as it pertains to the United States Ryder Cup team. But Tommy Fleetwood is representative of something that should be embodied in everybody, and it's not easy. And that is when you're dealt a tough hand late in things, that you decide, you know what, I like the fight. I'm good enough to be in the fight, and there's no reason why I can't get right back in the fight again. And you can't be devastated by a result. And it's something that's interesting because Tommy Fleetwood, and I know Brad Faxon talked about this on the broadcast yesterday, and it's something that Bob Rotella imparts upon a lot of people that he works with in terms of their state of mind, and that is, you can't look, especially in a sport like golf, that results are either some pass or fail, that it's either success or failure, that it's merely an outcome, and that the texture of that outcome is going to be different depending on what the result is, but that you shouldn't be devastated by the outcome because it's just that. And I think that it has worked well, and it has served the likes of Rory McIlroy, who also works with Bob Rotella, to have that type of approach. And similarly for Tommy Fleetwood, and I'm not saying that he wasn't stung by being so close so often so recently, but to me it's wildly impressive that after what has happened over the last several weeks, that he kept getting in the fight. And it's not like it was that dark. It wasn't like he was on the cusp of losing employment, but there is a term, and I love it, it's darkest before the dawn. For Tommy Fleetwood to play in the manner in which he did this week, and knowing that on the 15th tee, and it's not like he's abundantly aware of what Scottie Scheffler is doing, but there was enough noise starting on the 9th hole when Scheffler made that putt from just short of the green, not to mention playing alongside the guys that he was with, and Patrick Cantlay and everybody else who was close by, including Russell Henley. He knew that he didn't have that much separation. And when Scottie Scheffler made the putt that he made, and he got to that 15th tee, and Tommy Fleetwood was 17 under par, and here is Scheffler, 15 under, you're going, oh my gosh, he's going to reel in somebody else. And Scheffler did something that seemed inexplicable, similar to what he did on the opening tee by hitting it out of bounds. Tommy Fleetwood playing those stretch of holes, the way that he played it, to me is why not only is he beyond a world-class player, he's got chops, he's got resolve that is uncommon, and it was a wildly popular win because if you looked at not only, you know, his peer group and the guys, whether it's Harry Hall or Justin Rose or Shane Lowry from the European community being right there, but it's everybody else because he's a delightful guy. And he's a consummate professional. He walked into the press center when it was over and he talked about priorities and the things that mattered the most. And so the PGA Tour culminates their season, and look, we will have time and we will devote some time tomorrow, and for that matter a little bit Wednesday, because we go into this very, very lengthy and elongated off season, which will last 8 days. And we will have time to talk about changes or what you would do to possibly alter the schedule of the PGA Tour. I don't have to be a deep thinker to separate who was the best player all year from the guy who won the last event. And who knows, maybe they're going to return to some type of separation where you can still have a tournament inside the tournament. And I never had a problem with it. And I don't know if it all went sideways when Tiger and Phil had to share a photo op and one won one and one won the other. And you're going, well, this is really awkward. It wasn't awkward for me. I loved it. So who knows if we return to what we had, and oh, by the way, that was the year that Tiger won in 2018 when they still had the separation of who won the golf tournament and who won the FedEx Cup. Can you imagine if they had instituted that staggered start a year before and you had to try to explain to people that Tiger didn't win for the 80th time? Yeah, that could have happened. So I have no problem if they return to that. And I have no problem if they want to stay with this. It's a golf tournament, and Tommy Fleetwood won it. Does that mean that he was the FedEx Cup champion? Yeah, he was. He won all that money. But it doesn't mean that he was the best player over the course of the year. Everybody knows who that was. I think one of the things that we're going to see is that they're going to alter this, and we're going to turn this into a finals series. And if that means some type of implementation of match play, maybe. I think there's some misgivings from players when it comes to that. But if you're the PGA Tour and you're Brian Rolap, and let me just say as an aside, I thought he had a good week. I thought that, you know, the way that he presented himself, the way that he spoke, the way that he gave thought and curiosity to his thoughts in terms of the vision and the path forward for the PGA Tour before the tournament began, I thought was a very good jumping off point for him. And even in a very modest way, him walking out onto an 18th green and executing, you know, a toss back to Dan Hicks. The guy he's got presence. And I think if you're the Tour, and one of the most important things that Brian Rolap said about priorities is your attention. If you're watching this, you probably watched yesterday. If you're watching this, you watched the BMW Championship. If you watch this, you watch Memphis. And what did you see? 3 tremendous events with excellent leaderboards, all the best players with the exception of Rory not being in Memphis, and a lot of them showing up. And you also had the undercard storyline that's a big arc, which is the Ryder Cup. And you have all these guys from both sides playing as well as they did over the course of the last 2 weeks. Just look at this. You had Justin Rose win the first event, sandwiched in the middle with the guy who's the meatiest player in the world, Scottie Scheffler, winning in the manner in which he won it, reeling in Bob McIntyre, another guy who's going to be on that European Ryder Cup team at the BMW Championship. And then yesterday, you have Tommy Fleetwood getting Tommy all the way home from an American crowd, and you have Scheffler doing what he does, being insistent on not going away, and then you have the likes of Henley and Cantlay hanging around, and some other guys like Cam Young doing what they needed to do, and even Sam Burns. You could not draw up 3 weeks. If you want to be greedy and say a little bit more Rory, fair. But generally speaking, the PGA Tour could not have drawn up a more effective 3 weeks of leaderboards, storylines, and the culmination of 3 events from a playoff in Memphis to Scheffler and the chip-in on 17 at Caves Valley to Tommy in Atlanta. One last thing, because we'll talk some Ryder Cup, is the notion that suddenly Europe, because Tommy is such a delightful, affable, likable guy, is suddenly going to curry favor with an American crowd at Bethpage. Please stop. Please. That is a powdered keg of plutonium that the European team is heading into in a month's time. They will get none of that. Tommy Fleetwood might as well show up wearing a Pedro Martinez jersey in a month's time. They will curry no favor with that crowd. He got what he deserved yesterday, and I don't know that he's going to get what he deserves in a month's time, but they're not going to suddenly have the affection of an American crowd because across the board, they're a pretty likable lot. All right, we take our break. Sun coming up on the south side of Charlotte. It's great to be out at a wonderful event that has a great purpose, and that is to give through the game of golf. Mackenzie Hughes' first Pro-AM with some of his friends from the PGA Tour and other athletes from other sports joining as well. They will join me. We're with you till 10 a.m. on a Monday morning. The season of the PGA Tour is over. We can decompress for a week and a half because it's coming around the mountain again. We're back on this Monday right after this. Back in on this Monday. Great to have you with us here as we put a bow on the Tour Championship. We will do that. We're going to be with you till 10 a.m., 2-hour show on a Monday, because we are at what is a wonderful event in its first year. Mackenzie Hughes Pro-AM, his family foundation, making contributions back into not only this community but others as well, for families that are in need. This segment is brought to you by Golf Pride. When it comes to great products with the best materials, nobody is better than Golf Pride. They're trusted by more players at every level of the game. Joining me now is somebody who is a big part of why we are doing what we're doing here today, and that is Heath Campbell from Huntington National Bank. I want everyone to know you're the one. You're the guy born and raised in Charlotte who never left. Is that right?
What an incredible time to be part of Charlotte. It's an amazing place. The only thing I brought to this tournament, we're proud to be the presenting sponsor for this special Mackenzie Hughes Foundation and the tournament here at Longview. But the only thing I want to really take credit for is this beautiful weather we have today for an incredible round of golf.
No doubt. Being somebody who grew up here, and you've seen this town like I have. I came here for the first time in 1996, change a ton in many, many good ways, including, professional sports, not just the Panthers being born in 1995, but professional golf at the highest level coming here with what was the Wachovia, then the Wells Fargo, now the Truist Championship, and now Huntington Bank, and all you're doing in the game. Golf in this community is a huge part. Why does Huntington National Bank make the choice to invest in golf in the way that you guys are doing it?
Well, for me, I believe golf is one of the greatest metaphors in life, and we didn't have to look beyond this past weekend to kind of watch all that happen. Perseverance, dedication, the hard work, overcoming obstacles, and to watch Tommy Fleetwood win the Tour Championship last night. Losing with grace, never giving up on himself. What a positive attitude. And I think you find that spirit right here in Charlotte. And I think we find it right here at Longview Country Club.
And with respect to Mackenzie, and when you start something, look, steps are just that. They're steps. And then you want to get to a point when you're running, aligning yourself with Mackenzie and his mission. Why does it make sense for you guys?
I think as much as golf can be a metaphor for life, it has to be more than just a sport. And for us to gather family, friends, club members around golf in this beautiful metaphor, it's got to be more than that. So we're a purpose-built organization, and what if we can do this for a purpose for golf as well? You bring the best talent around the world, and as special as Charlotte is, what if we can raise money for those with less fortunate, that have greater needs, that we can bring all this collective body together in golf right here at Longview to give back to those that may need have a brighter spot, another chance, and really a brighter future. So that's what brings us together. It's more than golf. It's leaning into purpose and giving a chance for those in greater need.
How about the idea of somebody who grew up in Canada, goes off to Kent State, and is making not only a life for himself, but a very, very good life in terms of his performance on the PGA Tour, but putting down roots in this town, a town that you grew up in. That's the only way towns can really progress, is for other people to make the choice to come and live here and also give back. And that, to me, is representative of what not only Mackenzie is doing, but what you guys at Huntington are doing as well, is making an impact on this town. I know it means a lot to you, having grown up here.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. This is obviously a big honor for us and a sense of pride to be able to do what I do for Huntington Bank in my hometown. But what makes Charlotte unique is it's welcoming to all. So Mackenzie Hughes, he grew up in Canada, but he's part of this family now and part of the very community that makes this city so special. And so for us, for Huntington Bank, to put grassroots to build out the Southeast, which has predominantly been recognized as maybe the darling of the Midwest, it's amazing how the business community and the collective community have really embraced Huntington, and it's really neat to partner with such an incredible leader that's dedicated to making a difference and not just playing golf, but wants to leave a legacy of purpose and giving back to children that maybe don't need a handout, but need a hand up.
It's very well said. Having the likes of Clint Dempsey, one of the most decorated American soccer players of all time. I know he's out here as a member and plays a lot of golf. Del Curry, obviously we know how much he loves the game. And I remember seeing Steph, first time I saw him hit a golf ball was on the range right over there at Longview. Seeing other people support Mackenzie this way, I know it is representative of what you want this event to be, isn't it?
100%. Stand for better, but give back to others. I think that's what makes this uniquely special. We play golf a lot across the Carolinas and the Southeast, but this one's just a little different. So let's take all this special talent, raise money for a great cause, have some fun, but also some quality fellowship to say, look, we may have different lapel pins out here, different organizations, but let's unite for a common cause. And it's really neat that Mackenzie Hughes is able to be part of this inaugural event. His foundation, what brought us all together, and we're looking for a great day of golf.
It's a great jumping off point. Thank you for doing what you're doing, the choice that the bank has made to be involved, to help drive this thing forward in a great, great way. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for having us here.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks for all you do.
All right, we continue here on this Monday from Mackenzie Hughes Pro-AM, Huntington Bank, and all that they're doing. A number of guests to come. We are here until 10 a.m. We're back with you on this Monday on 5 Club's Golf Channel and on SiriusXM's Channel 92 on PGA Tour Radio right after this. Welcome back in on this Monday. It's great to be at the Longview Club on the south side of Charlotte for this first Mackenzie Hughes Pro-Am. Terrific day and great support from all of his friends. This segment is brought to you by Pinehurst, the cradle of American golf. When it comes to booking a trip to enjoy so many options on and off the golf course, there are very few places in the world that can offer you more than Pinehurst. Joining me now is the host himself. His first year of doing this at a place that I know means a great deal to him. That, of course, two-time winner on the PGA Tour, Mackenzie Hughes. Good morning. Good to see you.
Yeah, morning, Gary. Nice to be here. And John and I have talked about this a lot, but you plan for a day like this for a long time, and then when it's finally here, it's kind of surreal. So I'm excited, and hopefully it's going to be a great day.
I know it will be. Talking to Heath Campbell, you can't do stuff like this without great corporate support. You know that as somebody who's got great sponsorship yourself individually, their commitment to do this. Give an idea to everybody just the vision that you and your family have, because this is a family foundation, in terms of when you felt the desire and the responsibility to take this on.
Yeah, I think that, when I got on tour, that was always in the back of my mind that eventually I wanted to be in a position to help people, and my wife and I have always felt very strongly about, families and children in need. And now that Charlotte's become our home, we're really trying to help people around here and bring people up and give them uplifting experiences, help them financially when they need. But when you get to a position like I am, and I feel very fortunate to be in the position I am, I feel a responsibility to help people. And I enjoy helping people, but my platform gives me the opportunity to do something like this. Mm-hmm. And with John and his team, we've been able to put something together that I think will be very special for years to come. And I'm really excited to see it grow.
No doubt. And look, we're thrilled that you reached out to us, and we're excited to be here, especially the day after the PGA Tour season ends. God, it's a long year, and somebody who's going to be here to support you today shot 62 yesterday. Yeah. To put a bow on his season. That, of course, is Corey Connors. You have been willing to share your thoughts about kind of the road that the PGA Tour has been on since his fracture. Are you encouraged right now as this season ends and the new one starts in like a week and a half? But are you encouraged by what you're hearing from your peer group, what you heard from Brian Rolapp in terms of what the road ahead looks like?
Yeah, I am. I think that the tour is in a strong position, and I think that whole framework agreement with the PIF was it was tough because there were certain things that they didn't want to budge on, and the tour wanted, and I think it was tough to meet in the middle. But I think now the tour has realized, hey, wait, we're going forward, and we tried to make peace, if you will, and I think that now golf is at a place where that they exist, we exist, we're doing our thing, and I think the tour has done a great job of putting their head down and driving our business forward, and with Brian Rolapp now at the helm, I'm excited just because I know what he brings to the table, his experience, and I think the PGA Tour is in a great spot. I think the players are excited, and I think 2026 and beyond is looking very bright.
What, for you, in terms of change, what has changed the most since you got your footing and became a fully exempt member on the PGA Tour? What have you noticed that seems different?
Well, in my life, having kids, that was probably the biggest thing.
No doubt.
But on the tour side, I just think that the tour has gone through a lot of changes.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first got on tour, the fall portion was a huge part of the schedule. As far as you got off to a great start, that was a huge factor as to you making the tour championship or not. Like, you got off to a great start in the fall, and you were in the top 10.
You have a ton of points before Christmas.
Before you hit Maui.
Yep.
And now it's a whole different schedule, because now when January 1st, it's brand new. Everyone's starting clean, and you go through that West Coast, which is a difficult stretch of golf and some hard golf courses. And if you get off to a slow start, all of a sudden you hit Florida swing and you're like, man, I'm behind the 8 ball, and the season ends in 6 months. And the top 70 to make the playoffs is a very small number of players. I mean, we went from 125 now down to 70 to make playoffs. That's a huge cut.
Huge.
And to make top 70, you got to play some really, really high-level golf. And so I think just over the years, since I've become a member in 2016, I just think that the tour has become a more competitive product, a more competitive situation. No doubt. I mean, the cuts are lower. I mean, we're 65 in ties versus 70 in ties. We have the elevated events, and so it really has changed quite a bit, and I think it's going to continue to evolve. My hope is that we can just kind of settle into something that, like, people can then understand, because it changes so often that people need to understand what's going on. So I would love it for people to, like, be able to understand what's going on a little bit better. If it just starts to have a little bit more calmness to it, it settles into a nice little structure. But yeah, it's changing a lot. But I think that's change can be good. It doesn't always have to be like that. Change is a bad thing. I think change can be positive, and the tour is trying to always evolve and get better. So I like that they're thinking about the future and setting us up for more success down the road.
If you look at the schedule next year and you have this density of 2 major championships, that in the middle you also have 3 signature series events from the beginning of April with the Masters to the PGA Championship. You've got a signature series event in this town at a place that means a great deal to you in Quail Hollow, and you have the Heritage after the Masters. Now you have this new event in Miami, and you look at the rank and file and you look at the scarcity of playing opportunities. Does that concern you? Is that a problem potentially?
Well, yeah, it can be a problem for sure. I mean, I'm now on the outside looking in from that top 50. I mean, I played, I think, 6 of the 8 this year. But now I'm on the outside looking in, and I look at that part of the schedule and think, well, man, if I don't get myself into those events, I've got a huge gap in my schedule. And, that is what it is. I mean, I just know that's my situation, and I have to go play great to get myself in those events. And that's my challenge, and I look at it like that, not like, oh, woe is me, I'm on the outside looking in and I'm going to complain and whine about it. No, that's just my situation. I'm going to go play hard, and that's the way the tour is going. The tour is becoming harder, more competitive, and you just got to play better. And so next year I got my hands hands full, but I'm looking forward to the challenge. I'm excited about my game for next year, and but yeah, there's certainly guys, and if you're that 100 to 125 and beyond, like the opportunities with the smaller fields going into next year.
They're skimpy.
Yeah, there's some pretty small trimmed fields next year, and I mean it's going to be different next year, no doubt.
And next year, it's a President's Cup year. Being on the team as you were in 24, I know how desperate you want to be on that team again. And it gets me to Canadian golf. It's a hell of a time. I mentioned Corey, and he's now been in the Tour Championship 5 times. You've gotten there, obviously, with Adam. I can go on and on and on. I'm curious, so as somebody who grew up there, and I've seen this, I've experienced it in terms of, whether it's Golf Channel, whether it's Sirius XM, whether it's going to the Canadian Open. Why do Canadians have a passion for golf that is unlike a lot of countries in the world? Seriously, is it because the season's short? What is it?
Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, Canada is, we're small, but we're a sporting country, and I know hockey kind of takes the, hockey's like,
sure,
it's Canada's pastime. But, when you look at the numbers, I mean, when you're 50 years old, you're not playing hockey anymore, most likely, or 60 years old. But golf is a game you can play for a lifetime. And I think that, yeah, with our season being short, we really crammed that golf in between, let's call it May and October. So that to me is probably a huge part of it. Like, I always thought, like, when that first day hit, opening day, I mean, you were like so excited to see grass, to see the course open, the first tees going, and yeah, because we have so much time off from it. Like, I would, you'd spend November or December all the way through April, not touching a club potentially, and just being away from it, and then all of a sudden you're back into it. So I think that Canadians have just grown really passionate about the game, and as players, we obviously feel that when we're out there. Like, we go down to Florida and you play the Florida swing, and you're like, am I in Canada?
Right.
Like all the people down there, all the snowbirds, and so it's really cool for us as players to feel that support around the country and the States, and just yeah, they're behind us. So it's a really great time for Canadian golf.
Because you've been right there at 51, 52, and got a little help 2 years ago with somebody defecting to live, which worked out well. But how microscopic the difference is between you and somebody else who's making a living doing this, which gets me to Scheffler. To separate yourself quantitatively in the manner in which he has between himself and the number 2 player in the world, who has as big a gap between himself and the guy who's 115th in the world. Give people context of how impressive it is what Scheffler has done, not for a season, but now this is 4 that he's been doing this.
Yeah, I think that obviously there's been tons of talk and tons of praise heaped on him, but I actually don't know if it's even enough. I don't even know if people could truly appreciate what he's doing enough. The sustained level of high-level golf for such a long period of time. Like, it'd be different if you're like, man, he had a good 10 months there, and he ran the tables and played great, and then he kind of had some dips and whatever. But he just doesn't have any dips. I mean, if he dips, he finishes 8th. And you're like, wow, he looked awful this week. And you're like, but his bad is someone else's great. And he's so far and away better than the next player. I mean, that next player is Rory McIlroy. I mean, it's crazy to say he's so much better than Rory, but he is. And you look at the world rankings and they reflect that. And Rory would admit that too. And Rory on any given week is as good, but over time and that sustained excellence. I mean, that's where Scotty separates. Is that he just every single week he's there. And like I said, I watched the BMW and. My impressions were like, I'm surprised he doesn't win more.
Wow.
And he's won 5 times this year. He won 9 times last year. Like, he plays so well and so consistently, hits so many good shots that it just seems like he should win every single week. And he almost does. He's there all the time. Like, his last stretch, his last 10 or 11 tournaments, like, no event.
It's 14 straight top 8s.
Yeah, so like when you're in the top 8, like you're always right there. You have a chance to win, basically. Like even yesterday, like coming down the last 5-6 holes, he gets on a little run. He's right there. He didn't, but
it's 2 back with 4 to go.
Bad week, finishes 4th. Tough. So it's incredible. I mean, it's really cool that I'm playing in an era like I played, on the back end of Tiger, playing some good golf still, and I played with him, and now I'm playing with Scotty, and I've been out there with him on the golf course, and in 20, 30 years we'll talk about him as one of the best players that ever played the game. I'm almost certain of that.
No,
he's already getting to that point. I mean, he's on a generational run right now, and I don't see it slowing down anytime soon.
Last thing about just your view of Keegan Bradley. Do you expect him to pick himself?
If you'd asked me before Eastlake, I'd say he wasn't going to play.
Okay.
I think he's sitting down today and having a really hard look at it now, and he made his decision harder today, I think, because he's played some high-level golf this week, had a chance to win the FedEx Cup. He's right there in that conversation, and he made it more complicated by playing well this week, which is a good thing. But I thought before 11th in points, didn't have the greatest playoffs. Okay, he's gonna be a captain. Now he goes and plays great at Eastlake. I think he's really on the fence now and having a hard day, and him and his captains are having a hard talk about what the best play is for the team. My viewpoint is he's played good enough to be on the team, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
I just wonder if you really can separate the responsibilities.
That's been my point of view.
And I say you got enough talent on the U.S. side to go be a captain, and those 12 guys can go win the Ryder Cup. So my thing would be, and I think he's probably going to do that. I think he's going to not play and be a captain, but we'll find out tomorrow, I guess. And I mean, there's some guys behind him playing really great. I mean, you look at like a Cam Young or a Sam Burns, like they're playing some high-level golf. Matt McNeely, there's guys that are right there that are playing as well as he is,
and have played actually better than him in the last 5-6 weeks.
Yeah, so he doesn't have to play. I know there's been a lot of pressure and a lot of talk about him playing, but I think that they can still win the Ryder Cup without him. I mean, he's not going to change drastically the outcome, I don't think. I mean, certainly there would be a lot of energy behind him, and he's, kind of from the Northeast, so It's a bit of a rallying call to get him on the tee and maybe put him out first. But I think it sounds like there's just so much going into being a Ryder Cup captain that I just think he'd be better off separating the two and say, I'm just going to be a captain. But that's a hard call, man. I feel for him because that is a difficult decision to say, hey, I'm going to sit here and pick myself to play on the team. But we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know how you could already have any more interest than you already do for the event, and also considering where it's going to be held. What's being held here today is your event, and we're awfully proud to be here, to be on the air to support it. Appreciate you having us here, and really happy for what you're doing for all these families and the impact you're going to have on them with all the support of your friends, your corporate sponsors. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. I mean, it means a lot to bring some extra exposure to the event, and like I said, with Longview on board and myself and my wife and our foundation, we're really trying to make an impact and to continue to improve the area and help people around here. And it's an area that is home to us. So it's a really special day, and thanks for being a part of it.
Thank you. Mackenzie Hughes, again, two-time winner on the PGA Tour. It's his event today, the Mackenzie Hughes Pro-AM, benefiting his family foundation. We continue. It is hour 1 of 2 live from Longview Club here in Charlotte. We're back right after this. Welcome back into 5 Clubs on this Monday. Not only Golf Channel, but also PGA Tour Radio. That is Channel 92 on Sirius XM. This segment brought to you by Peter Millar. Fall, it's here. It may not touch 80 in Charlotte this week. Who knows? I don't know, a half a dozen cashmere sweaters at petermillar.com. Whatever you need, they have you covered. They have led when it comes to apparel for the last quarter century. Joining me now, he does everything. He just wrapped another preseason of the Atlanta Falcons. We'll finish 3rd in the NFC South. That's my prediction. Justin Kutcher, how are you, my friend?
Gary, I'm doing great. Thanks for being here. I might disagree about where the Falcons will finish.
I'm kidding. They could finish 1st or 4th. That's how that division is.
You're absolutely right. And by the way, I love the hoodie.
Thank you.
I mean, that is a great look. And you're right. The temperature could not be better today.
It is. It's that time of the year. Look, you live here. For people who don't know, Charlotte is your home. Mm-hmm. You've done every sport, Major League Baseball, the National Football League, and you do a lot of golf. You do a lot of PGA Tour Live, so it's great to have you here the day after they wrap up the season. Do you have any misgivings about the guy who hadn't won an event all year, winning the last event and winning the FedEx Cup? Does that matter to you?
No, it doesn't, because to me, what the FedEx Cup is supposed to be is it's supposed to be the playoffs. Right? And I still think they could tinker with it to make it a real playoff. But if you look at every sport, not always the best team wins the championship. Tommy Fleetwood had a heck of a year. And to see him finally come through in that moment, I think is actually maybe the best thing that could have happened this year for the PGA Tour.
The idea, just talking to Mackenzie Hughes in terms of going forward, and Brian Rolap used some terms last week that are provocative. He used the word scarcity. It reminded me a little bit of Jerry Maguire when he wrote the mission statement, like less clients.
Yep.
What do you think he means by that?
Good question. I'm not sure what he means by the scarcity, but he wants to, in my mind, just add that level of importance to the playoffs. So I actually think one thing that we could see change is the top 70 players make that first leg of the playoffs. And then the rankings go out the window. So you have to finish top 50 that first week to advance. Then you have to finish top 30.
So your regular
to advance.
season performance cannot cushion you at all.
Correct.
Okay.
So there's no cushion because every other sport
does it that way.
And so sometimes the best team wins, other times they don't. So you might get that situation where last year in the World Series you had the Yankees and the Dodgers. Or you might get the Texas Rangers and the Arizona Diamondbacks. You might get Rory versus Scotty. Or you might get someone else making that run, a Chris Gotterup who came out of nowhere. It's just the luck of the draw, but that's how I think you're going to make the real playoffs and make it so there's an importance. You can't have Rory McIlroy skip one leg of the playoffs. Otherwise, it doesn't feel like it's a playoffs.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if they actually lose that moniker and they just call it maybe the FedEx Cup Finals, and people can just let go of the idea of this as a playoffs. I agree with you. I have no problem. Look, if the top handful of players in the world who are the ones who drive kind of the leverage and the stickiness of the sport in terms of a TV audience can't finish in the top 50 in a 70-man field, hey, as Rory says about guys who are trying to get into those fields, play better.
Right.
You know, I would have no problem with that. And look, Scotty Scheffler will be at the Tour Championship. You'd like to believe that Rory and Tommy Fleetwood and all these other guys are as well. To me, scarcity, Justin, is it possible that they let these guys literally go away for a while? It's not like the best players in the world play much in the fall anyway, but that maybe less can be more. And maybe we don't have this density of events that you feel like they're playing 45 weeks out of 52 every year. I think that's possible.
I do think so too. And I think golf needs a break. And I actually like if you take that fall and you give those top players a rest. They don't have to play, but you still have golf going on. And there are great storylines. That's what I've noticed every week I'm on the air. There seems to be some intriguing storyline all the time. And so it might not be that player that we all know about, but that's the beauty of it. You get to learn about somebody else. And now all of a sudden, that 1 week, when they become a PGA Tour winner, it catapults them to something in the future. And so I do think less is more in some ways. And it's also, you need to be able to define the calendar of the year for the playing. You can't have it be 12 months out of the year. You can't have it be 11 months out of the year. If you go January and you know you're ending in August, that's perfect.
As somebody who has seen guys become big stars in other sports that you've covered, Scheffler, look, golf can't be specifically analogous to these other sports, but I do get the sense that there is more than just a mild curiosity among Main Street in sports to Scheffler now as opposed to the beginning of the year, like significantly. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. You know, the tough thing about Scotty is that everyone wants to compare him to Tiger. It reminds me a lot of like basketball, Michael Jordan. Everybody wants to compare somebody to Michael Jordan. There's one Michael Jordan. There's one Tiger Woods. Nobody's going to move the needle like Tiger Woods moves the needle. But what Scotty's doing week in, week out, it's mind-blowing. The difference is, like, I don't know if he has that intimidation factor. He's such a good guy, but he doesn't have that aura about him. But now, because he's top 8 every week, when he has a bad week.
I think that's it. I think it's his insistence on always being right there that is discomforting to his peers. Like, it's not like he goes on flyers on the weekend. He presents himself on the first page by Friday night. And then his shadow to me is his factor.
It is. And it's so funny because whenever you're doing a tournament, and you're going, you know, you look at that leaderboard, and all of a sudden you see there's Scheffler, 8th, and he's 3 shots back or 4 shots back, and you're going, the leader's got to be looking and saying, oh my God, there he is again. And once that happens, now you're like, you know what, Scotty might shoot 67 on Saturday, put himself 1-2 back, and then he wins it on Sunday. And that's where he's just different. And I've heard people describe it, and maybe you too, like Tiger, Jack, in a major, they never went really low.
No, they let the other guy make the mistake late.
They would go 68, 67
it was wildly
maybe.
Impressive.
Right.
Yeah.
But they knew if I just do this, somebody else is going to mess up, and I'm going to win it. And that's what Scotty does. He's always hole high. He puts himself in the right position. And it's almost boring in a sense because he's just so methodical about how he does it. But then when he wins, the fact that, he wins 2 majors this year, and he started off slow.
Right.
That's where I think people around golf are catching up and around sports. And I think about last week when he chips in on 17. I mean, you're just going, Scotty freaking Scheffler.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
No, it's true. It's a hole high. I get the idea that it's boring. It's actually the definition of insanity to do it over and over and over again. Have a great day.
Thank you.
It's great to see you. You and I need to play more golf. We played 1 round together at Old Town.
I know.
We need to play
and we
more.
need to play here.
Yes.
You know what? Being a member here, love having you here. Thank you for coming out. It means a lot to us.
It's great to be here. Justin Kutcher, who does every sport, he thinks the Falcons win the NFC South. All right, we got another hour, again, 2-hour show here on this Monday from Mackenzie Hughes Pro-AM. It's great to be here, benefiting his family foundation. More guests as well, more on the Ryder Cup, Fleetwood, Scheffler. We're back right here on 5 Clubs on Golf Channel and Sirius XM after this. Back in on this Monday, it is hour 2. It is great to be at Mackenzie Hughes Pro-Am, benefiting his family foundation the day after the PGA Tour season comes to a close. He's got a lot of his friends out here. We appreciate him having us here to celebrate year 1 of this wonderful event. And this program is brought to you by Century Insurance. When it comes to business insurance needs, they are right by you. They also invest in golf in great ways with the United States Golf Association and the First Tee. We appreciate them. We appreciate what the PGA Tour provided over the last 3 weeks. Just to give a little reset of what transpired, not only yesterday, but over the course of the 4 days. And believe me, I think that the PGA Tour should be examining everything as it relates to this 3-week series of events. If they want to continue to go on using the branding of playoffs, that's their prerogative. I would examine rebranding it as a final series so people can stop choke holding the idea that this is playoffs, and in playoffs you get the uncertainty of what the results are going to be. And I have absolutely no problem with Tommy Fleetwood winning the whole thing. He won the whole thing in the sense that he won the final event. If you want to give him the bushel full of cash, that's fine. I think people are so desensitized by the amount of money these guys are making that there's no amount that they can put in a bonus pool now that is going to make people stand up and go, can you believe how much they were playing for yesterday? I think those days are over. The leaderboard yesterday was representative of something that the PGA Tour should be thrilled about. That the best players on the back end of a season that begins at the Century in Maui, and you go through all of the different pockets and stretches of golf, and no, they don't play 35 events like Bob Gilder and Tom Kite did back in the 70s and 80s, but 18 to 22 events is a lot of golf. And for them to get that leaderboard with Tommy Fleetwood winning this event and having a crowd that, generally speaking, seems to be kind of sleepy and apathetic at Eastlake, I thought the atmosphere was great. Patrick Cantlay, Russell Henley, Corey Connors shooting 62 on a Sunday. By the way, he will be out here today at Mackenzie Hughes' event. Scheffler doing what he does, insisting on sniffing around the top of a leaderboard truly, literally every single week. Cam Young doing what Cam Young needed to do, and that's why we're going to talk about the Ryder Cup a little bit more in this hour, but much more tomorrow on the eve of what will be Keegan Bradley making his official announcements on Wednesday. Justin Thomas was going to be on the team, but even he had the kind of week that if you're Keegan Bradley, you're encouraged. It's a month off. Sam Burns, if you look at Sam Burns, and if you look at Keegan Bradley, if you look at Cam Young, Sam Burns and Cam Young outplayed Keegan Bradley in those 3 events. Now, Keegan finishing where he did matched the result of one of the guys, but was still outplayed by the other guy. And if you look at the total number of points for this season, and again, I'm only using this to give you a sense of their production. It doesn't mean that I'm building a case for one over the other, because if Keegan Bradley chooses to pick himself, I will not describe it as being controversial. It's going to be incredibly interesting if he chooses to do it. And I think that something that Mackenzie Hughes said when he joined me in the last hour is a practical way of looking at it. He knows that he can pick Cam Young, Sam Burns, if you want to say Colin Morikawa, Ben Griffin, and Maverick McNeely, if those are the guys who are going to be kind of rounding out his team, he shouldn't feel any less certain that they're going to win as opposed to him being on the team. And by the way, whoever that guy is, if you want to describe that player as being the final member of the team, as being the 12th guy, he's not the 12th guy. He's one of 12, just like Keegan Bradley would be. And that, to me, presents the most interesting aspect of this. If he plays, and let's say he plays 3 sessions, and for the most part, the balance of the roster does the same thing, and maybe it's, who knows, how much Xander Schauffele is going to play. You like to believe or feel inclined to believe that Scotty Scheffler is probably going to play all 4 sessions of team play before Sunday singles, and then after that, I think it's kind of up for grabs. But Keegan Bradley and Kevin Kisner, Webb Simpson, Gary Woodland, Jim Furyk, Brandt Snedeker, the guys who make up his staff, as Kevin Kisner said to us on this show a week and a half ago, he's just one of 12 guys. We're not going to, if he goes out, let's say he plays Friday morning, and then that puts him in a position knowing what the likely card is of pairings going out on Friday afternoon, and it's not going to change, and it's set. Okay, fine, then he only plays 1 session. But what if he goes out there with his partner and they win 6 and 5? Are you going to bench him? See, that's the one thing about the captaincy among, I think, a handful of things that make it kind of an important role, is that you have to be able to be nimble in those positions. And whether Davis Love III on Saturday afternoon, because Tiger Woods did not play Saturday morning, and I'm trying to jog your memory of not playing the hot hand, when Phil Mickelson and Keegan went out there and won for the 3rd straight time, and then they did not play on Saturday afternoon when they could have emphatically buried that European side, but instead they allowed them to get it from 10-4 to 10-5 to 10-6, and then all of a sudden they had the seedlings of a comeback. Those are the things that we're going to start to examine as they get closer to Bethpage, and then when Bethpage comes. Never in my wildest dreams did I think we were going to be in this place. I didn't think he could play good enough because I thought that the job was going to make it to where he would be kind of what he's been over the last couple of years. Top 20 to top 25 player, but enough depth on the American side that he was not going to be in a position where his vice captains, and here's my intuition, are going to lean into him that he's going to be on the team, and that he is going to likely feel that, and that he is probably going to pick himself. But that's where we've already moved the goalposts, because he said he wasn't going to pick himself when he was made the captain. And again, if he does, I'm not going to sit here and jump up and down. He's the captain. You gave him that responsibility. But then his captain's picks then become his legacy. And whether they win big, win close, or lose close, or get routed, those picks are kind of what it comes down to, which makes this thing so damn interesting. All right, we're going to take a break. When we continue, somebody who played on a winning team and a losing team on the European side, and was also a vice captain, winning and also experiencing losing. Robert Karlsson's going to join me. He's a member out here. He's a member of this community here to support Mackenzie Hughes' Pro-Am on this Monday. It's great to have you with us here. It is 5 Clubs on Golf Channel. We continue with you right after this. Back in this Monday edition of 5 Clubs on Golf Channel. Very pleased and proud to be out here at Mackenzie Hughes' first Pro-Am at Longview Club. And this segment is brought to you by Peter Millar. When it comes to apparel, whatever your needs are on the course, off the course, they've got it. The entire fall line is available at petermillar.com. All right, joining me now, 11-time winner on the PGA Tour. He won the Order of Merit, 2-time member of a European Ryder Cup team, Robert Karlsson. You just got back from the Champions Tour event I'm just glad your bag came off of the carousel of baggage claim late last night at Douglas International. How you feeling this morning?
A little bit tired.
Yeah, I bet.
On the Champions Tour, we play a lot of Pro-Ams, so this just kind of continues. But it's all right. I mean, I arrived at home probably 11 o'clock last night,
Okay.
so a few hours sleep, and now we get going again. But very, very happy to be here, and it's great. I've been a member on this club for 15 years, so very, very happy that they're doing this.
You know, somebody told me the story that people are going, Robert Karlsson lives in Charlotte? Yes, and you just said for 15 years. Did you get stranded here accidentally? Is that kind of how this, you made Charlotte your home?
Kind of.
Okay.
Kind of. So what happened was me and my now ex-wife and kids, we looked at moving over to America. I had my card here and we lived in Europe, and that year my kids was over for spring break for Easter, and that was the year when the Icelandic volcano erupted, so they couldn't fly back to Europe. So when we were over here, they got two extra weeks of holiday, and I played at Hilton Head, and we kind of looked at places, and it was like, okay, all four of us are here, we got 2 extra weeks. Where have I played that is on the East Coast, which is important for the traveling to Europe and for communication with Europe, both over telephone and with traveling. So we just kind of looked up and down the coast where it was good weather, and I had some good experiences playing at Wells Fargo a bunch of times. So this was kind of a nice happy medium.
Well,
So
that's fantastic, and you being here to support Mackenzie, just look, you've got a lot of peers, a lot of friends who have used the platform of being elite professional golfers globally to help other people. I know you got to be very proud and happy that he's embarking on this, right?
yeah, it's a great thing to do, and I'm very, very happy. It's at the Longview Club where I've been a member for a long time. So I'm looking forward to the day.
Absolutely. All right, let me get your thoughts. I mentioned you were on 2 Ryder Cup teams. You were an assistant captain on a couple of teams as well. This thing has become such a monster. When you go back to your first experience, I think it was 2006, you win emphatically. What was that week like as a rookie?
Ooh, I mean the week it's kind of a blur when you think back at it. It's so much other stuff going on. It's kind of nice when the tournament is starting because it is dinners, and it's all the extra media and all the other stuff is huge, and it's become way bigger than it was whatever it was 25 years ago. So it's a big thing. It's going to be. I mean, a thought in the back of my mind. I just wonder what Keegan Bradley's going to do. Is he going to play and captain both? I wouldn't. I know how much it is as a vice captain. As a captain, you have no chance. So
And it's been, you know, a lot of European assistant captains, past captains, who have emphatically said that. And Rory, who hasn't experienced it yet, but he knows as a player. Robert, one of the chief things that you know that the captains and the assistant captains have to do is try to shield you guys who are playing from as much noise as possible. How can he possibly be best at either if he tries to do both?
yeah, it's going to be very, very hard for him. It's going to be an interesting decision he has to take, because I think he makes the American team weaker if he doesn't play, because he's one of the top 12 players in America easily this year, the way he has performed, and even more so now when he's under the focus of being a Ryder Cup captain while he's playing. So he's definitely showed that he, in my mind, should be on that team. And I think it's a very, very hard job. And I just take one little example. On Friday and Saturday, in the middle of the round, you have to leave the team for the afternoon, and he can't be playing while he's kind of trying to figure out who's going to play with who and looking on stats, who's playing good, who's not playing good, is the team's working. I mean, he can't do that. So either you set the team in the morning and you just trust that it's going to work. Friday probably a little bit easier, but Saturday now you have more information on which teams are working, and depending on what the situation is, the standing in the match, you probably would like, or at least to have the chance to mix it up while if things are not going your way, and so that's going to be tricky.
The advent of all the analytics and all the data that now is part of the process of selecting partnerships, how much different is it in terms of the captain being kind of playing in a hot hand? Do you, from being a player 2006, 2008 to then being an assistant captain 12 to 15 years later, how much is less in stone or more in stone because of all the data?
It's a few things that you kind of have to take into consideration. I think first day you kind of have to play everyone.
Okay.
And so it's the first day you kind of can set it up and then just trust it. And then what he could do, I mean, if you just look at his case, he can avoid playing Saturday morning if he's going to get around it. But it's still going to be very, very busy in my mind. But you need to be able to shift it around. And you can, if you look on stats and numbers, you can definitely get lost in that because it's so much available.
Yes.
So much available. And we have a couple of situations on the European team where all the stats are saying one thing, and at the end of the day you end up doing something different. but you kind of you can get us. I mean, numerous things. I mean, we even was down at the. It was one pairing we had where one player was. He should tee off on the odd numbers because the pin positions were on the right side of the green, more on the evens where he was going to hit second shot. So he was going to, and his stats were better on the pins on the right side of the green. And they ended up doing the other stuff because they switched it around because he didn't want to have the first tee, and they still won the match. So it was good.
It's funny. There's a handful of those stories of people aborting that first tee experience in 1991. I think it was Lanny Watkins and Hale Irwin, two like old war horses. And they're like, I can't do this. What are you talking about? We've had this in place all week. That's why this thing is so different. I want to ask you about something that you experienced that very few players have. 1989, you're 19. You played the final round of the Open Championship with Seve, okay? And he had won the year before this. He is a bona fide rock star legend. And in 2008, on Saturday at Torrey Pines, you play with Tiger. On a day in which he eagles 13 and 18 and chips in on 17. Give me your thoughts about the aura of Seve and the aura of Tiger in those two experiences.
Well, obviously they're completely different individuals. Seve was fantastic in what he was doing, but there was a little bit of gamesmanship going on. He was rattling coins in his pocket while he was playing with a 19-year-old, and I even stepped off.
He's doing that to you.
Yeah, and I was an amateur. I didn't even compete against him. I'm not sure if he was aware of what he was doing, but
he was aware.
I actually stepped off the ball and stared at him on number 9, and when I just did it, it's like, what did I just do? What did I do? But his caddy came up and said after, well done, he need that. So, but obviously he's a legend, and he's made European golf to what it is today, and we owe him so much. But he was a tough man to play with.
And Tiger, at that point, first of all, he's hobbled. And it was, first of all, he doubled the first hole 3 times, including that day you played with him. What was that experience like? Because again, what he did on 13, and then he punctuates it by making another bomb on 18. What was that like, being in that environment?
I had played with him a few times before. I actually played with him when he was still an amateur in 1995. So I played with him a bunch of times. But the way he played, as bad as he moved, to even get around that round, even to get around was fantastic. And to play the way he did, by being close to him a bunch of times, I've seen him play poorly or struggling before and still putting in a number. But he's just, there was the most impressive 9 hole, especially the back 9, that I've ever seen anyone play.
Wow.
Because me and my caddy, we asked Steve Williams, do you think he's going to play tomorrow? He's like, well, he has walked 9 holes since Augusta, literally walked, and that was on a Tuesday at Torrey. So I mean, he hardly couldn't walk. And the most impressive thing is on 15, because he hit a big slice all the time, because that put less stress on the left leg. But on Torrey Pines is a tree on the left side, so he couldn't hit a slice, and the wind was off the left. So I was first off, I had a good drive, and before he tees off, he tells Steve Williams and the two of us, my caddy, when I've hit it, you can go. And Steve Williams looks at us just puzzled, and it's like, well, whatever. And he hit a couple of practice swings, and he hits the most beautiful low piercing draw in the middle of the fairway. But he just pulls down the club from the top of his swing and starts leaning on it and hyperventilating like it just delivered a baby. And he's like, you go, I'll see you soon. And he was literally still on the tee when we were on the fairway. That's how much pain he knew he was going to be in. To pull off that shot was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. when he knew the pain he was going to be in.
Yeah, the images from, like you said, just that 9 holes. My favorite view when he made the eagle on 13, there were people literally hanging in trees from on behind the green. And then he obviously has a chip in, and Steve pulls him up from the facing of the bunker. It was a hell of an experience for you. Before I let you go, life on PGA Tour champions. Are you better at some things now than you were 15, 20 years ago?
Maybe pacing my practice. I mean, it's a different.
Do you manage yourself out there?
We have to. We have to.
Okay.
Definitely. We play the way the PGA Champions is structured. We play way more pro-ams. So we have pro-am pretty much every Monday. That is, you don't have to play those ones, but it is a pro-am. And then Wednesday and Thursday. So we, in my category, I usually play 1 pro-am, and then when I'm needed, I play 2. So we play, I would say 1.5 pro-am a week, maybe. I mean, it's been weeks where I play 3. So we play more golf, and we are more we're forced to do more things outside, but we play less tournament golf. So the weeks looks a little bit different, but also with the tee times, it's harder to get any practice in, because very often, which is nice, we tee off between 9 and 11 or 10 or 12. It's very civilized, but it's hard to get any practice going. So the weeks looks a little bit different, and in my mind, I think it's the hardest tour I've ever played on, because we are about 78 guys every week, but it's like 100 guys. And in my category, having most of my career in Europe, I don't have any parachute kind of coming from the PGA Tour. So I need to finish top 36 every year to be full on, except next year. Top 54 gives me at least partially exemptions. But I would like to be top 36. And with everybody playing most of the tournaments, it's really, really a hard time to take any time off. And the way I've always scheduled my seasons has been like playing 3 weeks, have 2 weeks off, playing 4 weeks, have 1 week off, but a lot more 2-week breaks. And I haven't had a 2-week break since March. And that's and I kind of forced to play to protect my position. It's a lot of golf. It's way more, and it's way harder to get a good schedule when you're going to play 24 out of 28 tournaments, and then to play 24 out of 40, which it is on the PGA Tour or 35. So you have way less choices. So it's a tough tour to play on, but it's great. We have a really, really good time and play good golf courses, and
it's a great environment. There's no doubt. It's really neat. Who hits it as close now to when they were as good as they ever were? Who still flushes it, like sound, integrity of the strike?
Ernie's playing really well.
Okay.
He looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I must say, Ernie's looking
good. It looks pretty similar to the way it always has. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come over. It's great to see you. Thanks so much. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right, Robert Karlsson with us here on this Monday. We continue, more guests to come as we are here on Golf Channel. It is 5 Clubs on a Monday from Mackenzie Hughes' Family Foundation Pro-AM. We're back right after this. Welcome back to this Monday edition of 5 Clubs here on Golf Channel. This segment brought to you by Golf Pride. When it comes to having the best options with the best materials, it is Golf Pride. That's why they are trusted by more players at every level than any other grip company in the world. It was 29 years ago today that he said, move that coin back, Tiger, or you need to replace your coin. Yeah, 29 years ago. I cannot believe that this happened. It was the U.S. Amateur. He had him dead to rights. Of course, he was on the program a couple weeks ago, just coming off doing PGA Tour Live for the Tour Championship. I'm speaking of that U.S. Amateur finalist, Steve Scott. How are you, my friend?
Always great to be with you, Gary. This is a wonderful day here.
It is for you to, work like you did all week. And I know for you, like me, it's not breaking rocks, but still, you made your way from Ponte Vedra to be up here for this event. Let's start with this. Look, you know a lot of guys who play professionally, and you have your entire adult life. It's neat to see guys make a choice, put down roots like Mackenzie Hughes, who's from Canada, in a city like Charlotte and give back to the community, isn't it?
For sure. And when you grab a whole bunch of great tour pros and personalities in the game and you do it for a great cause, I mean, golf is that vehicle that really connects us all.
Yesterday, you're on the main feed on PGA Tour Live with Emma Carpenter, member of the Five Clubs family. She did win the season-long picking pool, which is great. But let me get your thoughts on, as the day is transpiring, what did your intuition tell you? Did you feel Tommy the whole day? Or did you think when Scotty stood on the 15th tee, this is happening again? What was the day like for you calling it?
Well, we have seen this movie before, right?
Yeah.
We know that he was not that much of a closer on the weekends. So many times he retreated on the weekends after having that 36-hole lead. And so, could he get it done in a moment like this and when everything was on the line at the Tour Championship? I called it poetic justice on the air of how much that moment was just so it was just so heartwarming, just such a really great cap on the season. I know Scotty Scheffler didn't win. He wins a lot. Let's spread it around a little bit. Tommy Fleetwood, the perseverance and the resiliency that he had throughout the whole positive attitude, I think, was just a huge benefit to him and the reason why he ended up winning yesterday.
Yeah, Steve, to me, it's not only that he won, but it speaks to what you were saying about resiliency. One of the reasons why I think that the playoff series was so captivating is that you had this collage of players from J.J. Spawn jumping back up, proving that it wasn't just the U.S. Open. Of course, he was in the playoff of the Players. Justin Rose at 45. Scheffler's in the mix. Scheffler has his week. Last week, the chip in. And then you have somebody who was right there in Memphis, we think was going to win Travelers. Like, all of that together, that texture of storylines and arcs is why I thought the 3 weeks was fantastic.
It was definitely a great mix of everything. We had the Players #1 in the world win, and then with J.J. Spawn and Justin Rose a couple weeks before, and Tommy, he it just again that perseverance, the ability to overcome, and to his attitude. I can't say enough about his attitude.
Yeah.
and answering questions after defeats. We see people exit stage right and not want to answer those questions. He answered them every time with honesty, with grace, and it's just a testament to his character.
The other part of this is what has been, I think, right there, and it's okay to share the story of these events themselves, but also the ramifications on the forthcoming Ryder Cup rosters. To get McIntyre, to get Spawn having the week, not that he wasn't going to be on the team that he was, but he's right there. Justin Rose, I think emphatically, because I think he was going to be on the team, but obviously he eliminated all doubt. And then Fleetwood, to me, it's that other part of it, Burns and Cam Young. Steve, you could not dream up, if you're the PGA of America, and I think the PGA Tour is okay with it. Maybe they swallow a little bit harder because it's not their property. It's good for the event that all of this other stuff is part of it, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there was a lot of pairings yesterday in that final round. They were neck and neck, 10 and 11 or 11 and 12. I mean, you had Andrew Novak was playing with Brian Harman. They're right neck and neck right there. Brian Harman played a great round of 63. So yes, there was a lot of storylines, a lot of overlapping there. We're going to see an electric Ryder Cup. It is a wonderful build-up to it.
It doesn't matter what the roster.
No matter the venue. But then you top the venue on top of this, and it's going to be, I think you called something a powder keg. It's going to be a powder keg. Yes.
It's going to be nuts. Do you think he picks himself?
Ooh, he's playing well enough. I think how it could go down and is all the vice captains get together right at the beginning on Wednesday when they do the announcements. They say, Keegan, you're our guy. We want you, and I think it's going to be kind of that collective sort of
I agree with
vision.
you.
I don't think he's going to walk up there and say, "Yeah, I'm going to pick myself." I don't see that. But he deserves to be on the team, in my opinion. He bleeds red, white, and blue. #1. His game is strong enough. Certainly, the questions: can he do all the roles? Look, he compartmentalized a lot this last week with shooting 63 and 64 in the second and third round. Didn't quite get it done yesterday, but was in the mix and gave himself, after 3 bogeys in the last 5 holes in the first round, mind you, to shoot even par. And then he worked his way through that second and third round just gloriously to give himself a realistic shot yesterday.
Yeah, he did. I think what you said about his staff, so to speak, it will not be a mild affirmation from them that he should be on the team. I think it's going to be emphatic. And I don't think it's one where he's going to be looking at them going, you're being disingenuous. You know that there are 2 or 3 other guys that are better suited to do this. It gets back to this for me. It's how much should he and is he willing to delegate to others? Because I think he has to. I just don't think that whatever he thought he was going to do, which includes what Seve did in '97, seeming like he was on every hole watching every match at the exact same time, he can't do those things. And how do you prepare for the one match you're going to play, knowing that, let's say he's playing in the afternoon, and he needs to prepare, but as the captain, everything in his body is telling him to be out there trying to bring guys home, and also the idea of lending advice. He's the captain. He's the only one relinquishing those responsibilities. Right. You got to believe that he's going to have to delegate some of that specifically to staff, right?
Well, certainly, and that's why we've seen more assistant captains. I mean, they just kept piling on over time, and all great people and all very capable of being the great assistants that they can be. We're in a very unique situation. Obviously, the PGA of America selecting Keegan. I think it's great for the game. It gives more eyeballs on the game. It gives the opportunity for him to do something that Arnold Palmer did back in 1963. And what was very interesting is yesterday, understanding that Arnold Palmer, they played that Ryder Cup at Eastlake in 1963. I mean, how about fate kind of working itself in that, too?
Yeah, it's weird. It is. And again, I said this, last week. Arnold Palmer was selected to be the captain like right now. It wasn't 18 months before the event with trotting out uniforms on the Today Show in 1963 like Keegan was last week after the BMW championship. I don't know how you could create another wrinkle or angle or element to the event to make it even more interesting than it already is. It's the most provocative event that golf has, and the environment is going to make it even more so. And then you add this. The Keegan cam will be just completely worn out if he does choose to do both. Let me get your view on Scheffler, because as somebody who had the last shot at Tiger before he turned pro and then embarked on arguably the most remarkable career ever produced by anybody, what Scheffler has done now, this is 4 seasons that is building with back-to-back at least 5 wins. What's your view of him separating himself to the degree that he has?
He does it with such a humble nature. Obviously, the fire burns pretty deep within him.
Yeah, he gets chippy.
But when he held that chip shot, speaking about chips, on that 71st hole at the BMW, he just had the arm raise, and it was very nonchalant in a way. He wanted to jump out of his skin because the moment was just that electric. And I think if he had that a little bit more electricity, I mean, it would be the Tiger Woods sort of thing, assuming he continued to do what he is doing. But we get, as fans, I think we pull from our athletes, our famed athletes, our star athletes, what they exude out there on the golf course. And when people are a little more calm, the fans are maybe a little bit more calm. But it's amazing to watch. It seems to happen every 20 to 25 years. We see this type of player work its way through. You talked about Seve, and Nicklaus and Palmer, the generation before, and then certainly Tiger in the 2000s, and now this is the Scottie Scheffler era, and we're in it, and we're blessed to be in it, to watch this greatness.
Don't you think, and it requires people to really pay attention, that somebody's total ambivalence to celebrity or wanting or seeking attention makes them inherently interesting? Because that's exactly who he is. At a time where people jump up and down with their hair on fire, to have anybody look at them on social media, and they're mostly anonymous people, his complete disinterest in celebrity, to me, makes him inherently interesting in 2025.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of understanding what Byron Nelson was and his personality, and he didn't want that. I mean, Byron Nelson retreated to the farm back in Texas, and I talked to Randy Smith a bit at PGA Championship this year about that, and that personality and his golf swing's actually kind of similar to a Byron Nelson, the way he sets the club at the top, and there's a lot of similarities actually to the great one there.
Yeah, to somebody who played golf before television. No, and which, again, Steve, to me, that is interesting, and whether it's because LeBron James suddenly has some crush on golf, which he clearly does. Were you guys putting his tweets up on your broadcast?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you be?
Bring it.
How about before I let you go, you're everybody's favorite golfers themselves. I've played golf with you. You still hit it out of the center of face repeatedly. Do you play some competitive golf? Do you still play some mid-am golf? And
I do. I'm a PGA professional, so I've been a head professional in the New York metropolitan section, the New Jersey section. I'm now in the Carolina section right here. I live right up the road in Winston-Salem.
You run a great society of golfers.
Yeah, the Silver Club Golfing Society is super fun, single-digit handicaps. But to be around the game and to connect with people, and our membership with Silver Club is all over the country. So wherever I travel, I'm going out to Cypress Point in a couple weeks for the Walker Cup, and I'm going to have an event. We're going to do an event at Lake Merced out there with some members, and we're going to travel all around, and we're going to go to England next month to play 3 courses on the British Open Road. So it's super special to be part of this game and to give back. And yes, I love to compete. I was fortunate enough to win the Section Player of the Year here a few years back in the Carolinas, and I love competing. I'm 2 years away from 50 though, so I don't know what semblance of senior tour golf I will play, but a senior PGA or a senior Open, U.S. Open would be just fine in my book.
Oh, for somebody who has the history with the United States Golf Association, it's always great to see you, and greatly appreciate the work that you're doing, not only in the game, but also covering the professional game as well on PGA Tour Live. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it, Gary. Thanks.
All right, there is Steve Scott, U.S. Amateur finalist 29 years ago today. He had the guy 5 down. He's not heard that before. All right, we continue here on this Monday on 5 Clubs on Golf Channel right after this. Back in this Monday edition of 5 Clubs. It's been a real treat to be out here in Mackenzie Hughes' first Pro-Am, benefiting his family foundation, making an impact on a lot of families in this community and beyond. And this segment is brought to you by Pinehurst, the cradle of American golf. Little breeze in the air. It is a beautiful late summer day here in the state of North Carolina, and it makes me think that it's about time to head to the cradle of American golf with all they have to offer. The new clubhouse at number 10, new Station 21 restaurant as well. They have a new restaurant opening at the main resort this fall. So much to do at Pinehurst Resort. Tomorrow we're back in studio. Wednesday, of course, you've got the announcement from Keegan Bradley of his United States Ryder Cup team, his 6 captain's picks. We'll talk more about that tomorrow when we're back in the studios of 5 Clubs. And then when it comes to Luke Donald, we know who his 6 are officially. And that is one of 3 things I want to get to just very quickly before we wrap it up here on this Monday from Longview Club, is his 6 automatic qualifiers. There's no surprise with 5 of them, and even the guy who wound up playing his way into the automatic position yesterday is not particularly surprising, knowing that the result that he needed going into the week was not modest, but it wasn't a top 5, it wasn't a top 10. All he needed to do was finish inside the top 30. He did more than that, and that is Rasmus Højgaard, which means we're going to get what we thought we were going to get. We're going to get a Højgaard like we got in Rome in 2023. It's just going to be a different first name. They look basically exactly alike. So Nikolai, who almost was in a position to win the golf tournament, that would have been particularly interesting. So Shane Lowry moves out of the top 6. I don't think Shane Lowry is going to be deprived a captain's pick by Luke Donald, but we're going to get what we thought going back even a couple of months we were going to get, which to me, the kind of the state of flux of the American team, starting with Keegan Bradley's decision of to choose himself or not to choose himself to be on that American side, We're going to have new faces, some players who have not experienced the Ryder Cup before for the Americans are going to be on that team. I've said it once, I've said it a million times. Rookies don't give me any misgivings at all about them being on the team. I don't care if there's 2, I don't care if there's 6. History shows good performances. You either respond to the environment or not. But on the European side, the fact that the team that destroyed the American team in Rome is coming back not only completely intact with one substitution who has the same last name and looks exactly like the guy that he's replacing, makes this the perfect narrative. Because Rory laid down the marker in Rome in the press conference before they departed, showered in champagne by saying, we're going there to win. Now, he didn't know then that the team that was going there was going to be the exact same team, but it is. And that's delicious. And it's not only the team, it's the captain himself, Luke Donald. Because Luke could have rode off and said, no, I got my win. I don't need to take this on. Winning on the road's a virtual impossibility. It's only happened a couple of times in the last 3 decades. And yes, we were the team who did it, and I was part of one of them in 2012 that did it. He was actually part of another one in 2004 at Oakland Hills. But the fact that the captain's the same, the team's the same, and they're taking on the guy who everybody says was snubbed, who may be a playing captain, come on, you couldn't make this stuff up. And we've got it. And so Keegan will make his picks on Wednesday. And it's interesting that on the European side, Keegan will have one player from LIV, and Luke Donald's going to have a couple of players from LIV. And 2 of those players were part of something that was, I thought, a genuine moment for LIV yesterday. And I'm not telling you that you should invest in LIV. You make your own choices as to what you choose to watch. But LIV, I'd like to think, because of the way that things ended yesterday in Atlanta at 6 o'clock, and their broadcast window on Big Fox was till 7, if not beyond, depending on how they resolved their team championship, and they got a playoff. And the 2 guys representing one of those teams was John Rahm and Tyrrell Hatton, who are going to be on that European Ryder Cup team, playing a match against another guy who's from the European community who's not going to be on the European team, against the other guy who you could argue is as big a star as anybody in the sport, who's going to be on the United States team, Bryson DeChambeau. I mean, seriously, could the PGA of America get a more dream situation over the last couple of weeks, and then it crescendos and culminates with LIV getting their own standalone window from 6 to 7 Eastern time? If that time window on television does not produce the biggest number that they've had, I don't know what to tell you. But I expect that it will be good. Now, it won't be nearly as big as the Tour Championship, because the Tour Championship is going to have another really good ratings week, and that's going to culminate 3 excellent weeks for their product. Let me end with one last thing about one other winner yesterday, who's one of my favorite people in golf, and that is Brooke Henderson. That is a Canadian, and we were here today being a part of an event being hosted by a Canadian who has found Charlotte as his home, and that is Mackenzie Hughes. And I said to Mackenzie Hughes, do you have any theory as to why Canadians feel the way that they do about golf? And he's like, yeah, I'm not really sure, but I know one thing, that the people who are out watching Brooke Henderson win that event for the 2nd time, win for the 14th time in her LPGA career, and winning for the first time in almost 3 years, we're absolutely lathered up to watch her do it. She's one of the best players that we've seen in the last 20 years on the LPGA, and I am very, very happy for her. And that, of course, for the LPGA is a huge win, because you got huge crowds, and you got a champion who's been one of the better players, one of the more engaging players that they have had at a time when we have seen a handful of players ascend to world number 1 on that side. You can go back to Inbee Park, and obviously the run that Nelly Korda has been on, and certainly all the dominance of all the players from Korea in the Pacific Rim as well. Her winning yesterday is a huge W for the LPGA. So as we say goodbye here, a couple final thoughts about Mackenzie Hughes and somebody who is doing what he's doing. If you look around the PGA Tour and you look at kind of his state or his position in the game, he is somebody who is and has been, and I was looking at his numbers, it's uncanny, he has been between 50th and 65th basically for the last 5 years. And he got a break a couple of years ago when they created the Signature Series because Jon Rahm defected. It moved him up a spot and gave him all of those starts in the Signature Series. Mackenzie Hughes was on an International President's Cup team last year, and he finds himself in a place that now is professional golf purgatory. And as the new CEO of the PGA Tour was talking about with respect to competitive parity, and there are very few sports, and that includes men's or women's tennis, which they have their final major Grand Slam event of the year that began this weekend at the U.S. Open. That sport doesn't have the competitive parity that men's and women's golf does. Part of it is the dynamic that you are literally in a matchup sport where you only play one opponent at a time. And golf may be a little bit different if it was constructed that way. I don't think it would be decidedly different because that's how close the margins are between someone like Mackenzie Hughes, who finds himself kind of on the back end of the workforce of the PGA Tour. Think about that. 70 players started the playoffs, and it culminated yesterday with somebody who, even though he has been agonizingly close to winning on the PGA Tour, up until yesterday, he never had. Think about how many people are capable of winning. The guy who has been the man of the match in a Ryder Cup has won 7 times on the DP World Tour, but yet it's still not broken through on the PGA Tour. And at the same time we're seeing that happen, we're seeing the opportunities and the overall size of the workforce on the PGA Tour get smaller and smaller. It's never been more competitive. There have never been more players more capable of winning. And at the same time, there are less opportunities for those players capable of actually going out there and trying to do it. To Mackenzie Hughes, to the great staff here at Longview, we thank them for having us out here on a day in which lives are going to be impacted in a very, very positive way. To all of his friends from the PGA Tour out here to support him as well, thank them. We're back in studio tomorrow. Much more on the European and American Ryder Cup teams, the choices that have to be made by Keegan Bradley and Luke Donald. For all of us here at 5 Clubs and Signature Sports Group, have a great Monday. We'll see you tomorrow.